What's up, YouTube? It's Biblical Truther coming to you with another video from our good conservative Republican governor of Florida and what he signed into law today. So if yesterday wasn't shocking enough, maybe all these conservative Republican mainly targeted Christians will heed this warning, because this was, this guy was touted by a lot of people as the great white hope, and one way to say it, but the next successor to the T-Man. And of course I showed you where he beat T-Man in a poll for the bid for next year, or our next presidential election. So I want to read part of this bill that he signed into law today. Although Section 18 does talk about how you don't have to show documentation and no passports, but let's see what this section prior, Section 17, T-Man's favorite little group, the letter that shall not be named. It just so happens this falls under that section. Just a coincidence for those who believe in coincidences, but let's see what he had to say in this bill. Chapter 2021-8, Committee Substitute for Senate Bill number 2006. Let's scroll on down to page 20. See, I don't pass it up. To none other than 16, section 17. Paragraph C of subsection 1 and subsection 2 of section 381.00315 Florida statutes are amended to read: public health advisories, public health emergencies, isolation and quarantine. The state health officers responsible for declaring public health emergencies, issuing public health advisories, and ordering isolation or quarantines. As used in this section, the term public health emergency means any occurrence or threat thereof, whether natural or man-made, which results or may result in substantial injury or harm to the public health for infectious disease, chemical agents, nuclear agents, biological toxins, or situations involving mass casualties or natural disasters. The Department shall prepare and maintain a state public health emergency management plan to serve as a comprehensive guide to public health emergency response in this state. The Department shall develop the plan in collaboration with the Division of Emergency Management, other executive agencies with functions relevant to the public health emergencies, district medical examiners, and national and state public health experts, and ensure that it integrates and coordinates with the public health emergency management plans and programs of the federal government. The plan must address each element of the public health emergency planning and incorporate public health and epidemiological best practices to ensure that the state is prepared for every foreseeable public health emergency. The plan must include an assessment of state and local public health infrastructure, including information systems, physical plant, commodities, and human resources, and an analysis of the infrastructure necessary to achieve the level of readiness proposed by the plan for short-term and long-term public emergencies. Beginning July 1st, 2022, the Department shall submit the plan to the Division of Emergency Management for inclusion in the State Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan pursuant to S. 252.35. The Department shall review the plan after the declared end of each public health emergency, and in any event at least every 5 years, and update its terms as necessary to ensure continuous planning. For declaring a public health emergency, the state health officer shall, to the extent possible, consult with the governor and shall notify the Chief of Domestic Security. The declaration of the public health emergency shall continue until the state health officer finds that the threat or danger has been dealt with to the extent that the emergency conditions no longer exist and he or she terminates the declaration. However, a declaration of a public health emergency may not continue for longer than 60 days unless the governor concurs in the renewal of the declaration. The state health officer, upon declaration of a public health emergency, shall establish by order the method and procedure for identifying and reporting cases and deaths involving the infectious disease or other occurrence identified as the basis for the declared public health emergency. The method and procedure must be consistent with any standards developed by the federal government specific to the declared emergency, or if the federal standards do not exist, must be consistent with public health best practices as identified by the state health officer. During the pendency of a public health emergency, the department is the sole entity responsible for the collection and official reporting and publication of cases and deaths. The state health officer, by order or emergency rule, may ensure necessary assistance for licensed healthcare providers in carrying out this function and may request the assistance of district medical examiners in performing this function. The state health officer, upon declaration of the public health emergency, may take actions that are necessary to protect the public health. Such actions include but are not limited to, this basically goes through about shipping pharmaceuticals in bulk or however they need to be shipped. But let's get on down to number 4. Ordering individuals to be examined, tested, vaccinated, treated, isolated, or quarantined for communicable diseases that have significant morbidity or mortality and present a severe danger to public health. Individuals who are unable or unwilling to be examined, tested, vaccinated, or treated for reasons of health, religion, or conscience may be subjected to isolation or quarantine. Now, let me start this out up here because it kind of goes in a flow, you know. The state health officer, upon declaration of a public health emergency, may take actions that are necessary to protect the public health. Such actions include but are not limited to, let's go to number 4, ordering an individual to be examined, tested, VC'd, treated, isolated, or quarantined for communicable diseases that have significant morbidity or mortality and present a severe danger to public health. Individuals who are unable or unwilling to be examined, tested, vaccinated, or treated for reasons of health, religion, or conscience may be subject to isolation or quarantine. Examination, testing, VC, or treatment may be performed by any qualified person authorized by the state health officer. If the individual poses a danger to the public health, the state health officer may subject the individual to isolation or quarantine. If there is no practical method to isolate or quarantine the individual, the state health officer may use any means necessary to VC or treat the individual. Any order of the state health officer given to effectuate this paragraph is immediately enforceable by a law enforcement officer. Therefore, all these state health officers have to do is say, take them, and they can take you. Individuals who assist the state health officer at his or her request on a volunteer basis during a public health emergency are entitled to the benefits specified in those sections. Pretty crazy, man. So can you see it now? You know, the videos that everybody made about the CPAC convention, or whatever you want to call it, where the stage was a big Nazi SS symbol, and how some of these conservative news analysts were doing the, you know, the little Heil Hitler thing, you know what I'm saying, while they were on stage, on TV. This just goes to basically cement what I told you guys before, that the real real radicals are those in the Republican Party. They're just using this right now to demonize the Democrats to push people towards these conservative, supposed conservative Republican leaders. So I hope this is an eye-opener for some people, man. I will put the link in the description for this bill, or you can just look it up yourself. You know, I showed the number for it, excuse me, so you can check it out and read the whole thing. Some of the stuff in there is actually pretty good, but that section 17 should be an eye-opener for everyone, man. These people are of one team, and that's not the team that we're on. So just going to give you a warning, man, heads up. You know what I'm saying? This is what our propped up Mr. DeSantis, you know, Governor DeSantis has done to his own Floridians. Where you at, Florida Maquis? You know, so Enter the Stars, I know you're saying this was a great thing, that he was not requiring, you know, the passports and whatnot, but I think this is even worse. This is worse by far of anything. So all they have to do is deem you a threat. That's it. Just say you are and you're gone. It says it right in there. Immediately enforceable by law enforcement. So they don't even really got to go through a paper trail. All this guy has to do is say you, and the handcuffs are on you, baby. Gone to the FEMA camps. You know, that other theory that everyone said for years they didn't exist, but now all of a sudden they do, and they have been built for, you know, well over a decade, if not longer, just waiting for this moment, man. And these people are going to continue to slide these bills and laws into place, and if nobody's paying attention, well, I mean, there's only a few of us, you know what I'm saying, in the population of the world. You can say there's very few who are speaking out against this stuff, and the rest are just going along to get along. But another thing it said in that bill was the fact that these people who volunteer to help this health officer will get extra benefits. You know, snitches get rewards. So that was a Democrat that came up with that. And now you got a Republican signing a bill saying that you're going to get special preferential treatment for snitching on your neighbor. Well, what's the Bible say? What did Jesus tell us? Your greatest enemy will be members of your own household. That's a whole lot worse than your neighbor, because I mean it is family, but best believe this is gonna have some people I don't even know what to say, man. I had my wife, you know, she has her little online business that she does, and one of the girls that she sells her stuff to was telling her how her family had set up this whole little thing, like, you know, the TV show Intervention. They set up this whole little family meeting where they brought her in, basically just like the TV show, because, you know, that's the programming. But it was about getting VC'd. You know, she was the holdout of the family. She was the one that said, no, I'm not doing it. And her family went and had set up a whole intervention, just like the TV show, to try and talk some sense into her. Because the truth that she was telling them, in their eyes, because it was against what the TV was telling them, they had to set up an intervention for her because she was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Just like the rest of us, we're all crazy, according to them. But yeah, man, you think it's a coincidence that this got signed in today after those, what I call them yesterday, I can't even remember now, those odd-looking fellows had met with Mr. DeSantis, and then today they got this whole bill stretched out and ready to be signed into law. But go read the whole thing, because it's now saying that governors, or that governor, can sign an executive order and immediately it is enforceable as law, which is directly against the Constitution. I think it's 3 different amendments that it goes against, that, you know, governors should not and cannot do what they're doing, especially using the police force to enforce these things that they're doing to us. But yet they're doing it, and people want to believe that we still have a Constitution. They just haven't publicly said we threw that old, you know, rusty document out, you know, just like, who was that? Hillary? Was it? Yeah, I think it was Hillary who said they needed to get rid of the, or maybe it was Obama. They had to, you know, get rid of this old document because it just don't work anymore. Well, it don't work for you guys, because with the Constitution, you don't have the power base that you have now. So, of course, it doesn't work for you guys. But us, we better hang on to that, because they're after it, and they're passing these laws on the slick, on the hush, and it's steady chipping away at what little bit of rights we have left. Before you know it, this is going to be far worse than Nazi Germany. And it's always been planned that way. That was the great experiment of America, was to start out like they were going, you know, supposedly a true democratic country, and just slowly chip it away, but make the people beg for it, and they're asking for this totalitarian dictatorship to rule every aspect of their lives. It's very, very crazy. I can't understand for the life of me how no one sees this, man. No one sees this stuff, except us, of course. But man, it's crazy, so crazy. But I wanted to bring this to you guys because this man is being lifted up as the next T-Man, and then he goes and signs some stuff like this. So on TV, they're making it sound like he's doing this great thing by not allowing them to ask for passports, but all they got to do is have some health official right there close for when you come up and they ask you, because they will ask you, even though they can't ask for documentation. If you're in these type of combative, all they got to do is say, get them. Or they can have another guy standing out there that don't work for the establishment that is doing that as you come along, because eventually it's going to get to a point where you're going to have this thing to even walk around in public. Just to leave your house, you're going to have it. And they're going to have a coalition of people who are getting these benefits, who are going to be out there screening people. And Richie from Boston, I think it was a whole panel of guys on that night. There was 4 of them. I think it was Nicholson 1968, Enter the Stars, Days of Noah, and I forget the other guy. But they were all talking about it back in like October, November of 2019, about this MIT article where they were putting in, I think it was Wired magazine, a little device that they can shoot at you from up to 200 feet away and tell if you've been VC'd or not. So they were like, in this show that night, they were like, why would they even have this? Why would they make something like that? And what would be in the VC that could be read from 200, you know, up to 200 feet away? So they kind of broke the news before the news was even known in Wuhan. So best believe if they got this technology, with all the EMF frequencies that people are emitting at this point. They're going to be able to just drive by, you know, with all this facial recognition that the police have in their cars now, especially when the AI is unleashed 100% fully. They're going to be able to drive down the road in their little computer inside, just like those pictures we've seen of China and their social credit score. They're going to be able to drive down the road, and you're going to have a little box above your head, and it's going to have a red check, a gray, was it a red one, or a yellow one, or a green one? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. And the vast majority of us are just letting it happen. There's just not enough of us to band together, you know what I'm saying? And those who do pay attention somewhat, they're not even willing. They're not even willing to band together. They'll listen to you, but that's as far as it goes. They don't do their own research. They don't. It's just sad. So sad. But anyway, I wanted to bring this to you, man, just to show you another thing that he did. This conservative Republican JWO supporter has done to his fellow Floridians. Crazy, crazy. I love you guys.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints,